I became a multi-millionaire at 28 years old. But if I had to go back and make my first $10 million in the next 12 months, this is exactly what I'd do.
12 months, Bart. I can't even get my succulent to stay alive for 12 months, and this guy is talking about an 8-figure empire from a standing start. It's wild.
It's definitely a bold claim. He even says if you think $10 million is insane, he probably can't help you. But hey, that's why we're here. Let's see if this blueprint actually holds water, or if it's just high-level guru talk.
Hustle Happy Hour!
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Hustle Happy Hour. This is the podcast where two friends sit down, grab a drink, and react to videos from the internet's favorite entrepreneurship gurus.
We're not here to hate, and we're definitely not here to worship. We break down what actually makes sense, what's overhyped, and what might get you into trouble if you follow it blindly.
If you've ever watched a guru and thought, wait, is that really true? You're in the right place.
So pour a drink, pull up a seat, and let's get into today's hustle. $0 to $10 million in 12 months.
Yeah. It sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud like that, doesn't it?
It sounds completely impossible, to be honest. It sounds like one of those, clickbait titles that makes me roll my eyes and just keep scrolling.
For sure.
I mean, let's be real. Most startups are, popping champagne if they just survive their first year?
If they don't go bankrupt, yeah.
Right.
That's a huge win.
Right. Let alone hitting 7 figures, but 8 figures. $10 million in one single trip around the sun. That just feels like a whole different universe.
It is a different universe, but that's exactly why we're digging into it today.
Today, we are doing something a little dangerous. We're looking at a document that, quite honestly, triggers every single skepticism alarm bell I have in my body.
I know exactly the one you mean. I had the same reaction when I first saw the title. A bit of an eye roll, if I'm being honest.
A huge eye roll. It's a blueprint, a specific 12-month schedule that claims to take a business from absolute zero, a standing start, no list, no product, to $10 million in revenue.
In 1 year.
Yeah. 1 year, 0 to 10 million.
It sounds audacious. It's a polite word for it.
It sounds impossible. It sounds like late night infomercial territory, buy my course and get rich by Tuesday. And usually we would just toss this kind of thing in the hustle hype bin and, move on.
Right.
But then I started reading the actual mechanics behind it.
And that is where the story changes completely. We aren't looking at a lottery ticket here.
No.
We aren't talking about getting lucky with some crypto coin or, going viral on TikTok by accident.
Right.
We are looking at a very specific, almost architectural blueprint. And this one comes from Dan Martell.
And for anyone listening who might not know the name, Martell isn't just, some guy with a nice webcam and a course to sell.
No, absolutely not. He's a multi-millionaire entrepreneur. He's a prolific angel investor. And he's a guy who has actually built and sold multiple software companies himself.
He's been in the trenches.
He's been in the trenches. He's done the exits.
And that's why we're giving this airtime. We are treating this as a thought experiment in business physics. If you removed all the friction, if you had perfect execution, and if you pulled the biggest levers available, what is theoretically possible?
Precisely. And I think we need to frame this carefully for everyone listening. Is it likely you, personally, will hit $10 million in your first year? No.
Statistically, it's near impossible.
Near impossible. But Martell presents this as a study in extreme leverage. And the way I look at it is, even if you fail at 90% of this blueprint, you're still sitting on $1 million business.
Which is a failure most of us would happily accept.
A very happy failure. So our mission today is to stress test this. We're going to walk through the 12 months, but we're not just going to nod along. We're going to tear apart the money math, question the systems, and figure out what is actually applicable to the real world.
And we're using a second source too, right? A kind of critique framework.
Yeah, a really useful lens that helps distinguish between what it calls hustle hype and situational advice. We want to know, does this blueprint only work if you're already rich and connected, or is logic actually sound for a beginner?
Okay, so buckle up. Let's get into the timeline. It's a sprint. We are starting with month 1. Day 1. Most people, myself included, would probably start by, designing a logo.
Or obsessing over a website name, trying to get the social media handles.
Right. And Martell says absolutely not. You start with something he calls money math.
This is the physics of $10 million. And this is where most entrepreneurs fail before they even open their laptops. They pick a revenue goal, but then they choose a vehicle that mathematically cannot get them there. not in the time frame they want.
It's like trying to drive to the moon.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The vehicle just doesn't match the destination. And to understand this, we have to look at the transaction size. He breaks this down into 3 tiers, and it's fascinating how clearly this highlights the trap.
Let's run the numbers because this was a huge aha moment for me. So scenario A is the consumer level. You're selling something for, say, $100.
Right. Of course, a cool gadget, a subscription box, something like that.
Okay, so to hit 10 million with a $100 product, you need, let me get this right, 100,000 unique customers.
100.
1,000.
That's a small city. It's a massive amount of volume. I mean, just think about the friction of acquiring 100,000 individual human beings. You need viral marketing, massive ad spend, incredible logistics. To do that in year 1, from a standing start, you're basically playing the lottery.
You're just hoping for lightning to strike.
That's it. So he calls that the rabbit strategy. Lots of running around, very little meat on each one.
Okay, so rabbits are out. Let's go to the complete other extreme. Scenario B, the enterprise level. You're selling these huge contracts to Fortune 500 companies. Let's say $100,000 a pop.
Now, this looks really attractive on paper because you only need 100 customers.
Just 100 deals.
100 deals to hit 10 million. That feels, manageable.
But there's a catch, and it's a big one.
It's a huge one, and the catch is time. Enterprise sales cycles are notoriously slow. We're talking 6, 9, maybe 18 months for a single deal.
You have to go through legal procurement committees.
The committee of no, as they say. You might be the best salesperson in the world, but you cannot force a giant corporation to sign a check in 30 days. It's just not how they work. So if you have a 12-month deadline, the enterprise strategy will kill you. You'll run out of cash before the money ever hits the bank.
So the rabbits are too many and the elephants are too slow. We have a Goldilocks dilemma.
Which brings us to Martell's solution, the mid-market. He calls these the bucks, or the deer. He argues the absolute sweet spot for a rapid ascent is a $10,000 price point.
1,000 sales at $10,000 each.
Exactly. Now, 1,000 customers is a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's not 100,000. And a $10,000 decision can often be made by a single person, a small business owner, a VP, without needing a full board meeting.
So it's enough money to matter, but not so much money that it gets stuck in bureaucracy for a year.
That's it. It's the perfect balance of enough meat on the bone to make the effort worth it, but fast enough to kill to keep the cash flow moving.
So the big takeaway for month 1 is pretty straightforward. If you want speed, you need a high transaction value. You cannot hustle your way to $10 million selling t-shirts in year 1.
The physics just don't work. You have to sell less for more. It's the only way.
Okay, so we've accepted the math. We need to sell something worth $10,000. That leads us directly and kind of terrifyingly into month 2, picking the business model. Because I'm sitting here thinking, what on earth can I possibly sell for 10 grand?
And this is the next wall people hit. They try to invent something completely new. Martell warns that choosing the wrong model here is like bringing a knife to a gunfight. He outlines 4 main models: products, services, knowledge, and connection.
Let's define those quickly. Products are physical or digital goods. Simple enough.
Yep. Services are selling your time or an outcome done for you work.
Knowledge would be like coaching or high-end consulting.
And connection is being a broker, a recruiter, an affiliate. You're connecting people.
So take those 4 and you apply that $10,000 filter. And a lot of them just fall apart.
Right. Can you sell a generic service for $10,000? Maybe, but it's hard to scale because it's tied directly to your hours in the day. Can you sell a PDF for 10 grand? No way.
So what does he recommend? There's a hybrid, isn't there? He calls it a product-based business with a service aspect.
This is the secret sauce. This
Yeah.
is the whole key. And there's a story he tells about a friend with a design agency that just perfectly illustrates this. This guy was stuck in what they call the agency trap.
I think a lot of our listeners are going to resonate with this. He was doing everything custom for every client, right?
Everything. A client comes in, says, I need a website. Boom, he builds it from scratch. Another one says, I need a brochure. Okay, blank page, here we go. Every single project started from zero. He was completely overwhelmed, burned out, and definitely not scaling.
So Martell gives him some advice. He tells him to go interview his past clients and ask one very specific question.
What did you pay for that created the most value?
And I love that phrasing. Not what did you like the most or what took me the most time, but what created the most value.
Exactly. And the answer shocked him. It wasn't the beautiful logos he designed. It wasn't the clean code on the website. It was something he called the dig.
The dig. What's that?
It was the strategy session he did at the very beginning of every project. The deep dive into their brand positioning, their voice, their target audience. That initial clarity session was worth more to the clients than all the pretty deliverables that came after.
So the pivot was to stop selling custom design services and start selling the brand strategy dig as a standalone product.
He productized the service. He created a standardized framework, a set of questions, a specific workshop format, a templated output. He could sell that same product over and over again, but because it involved this high-level consulting, that's the service aspect, he could charge a premium for it. 10 grand a pop.
That is such a crucial distinction. If you just sell a course with videos, it's low ticket. If you just sell your time by the hour, you cap out. But if you sell a transformation system that includes both tools and your expert guidance, you can hit that $10,000 price point and still have something you can scale.
And he had one more critical rule for month 2. Check market demand. Martell says, and this is a great line, don't invent a new behavior.
Go where the money is already flowing.
Exactly. You want to step into a flowing river of money. You have to ask yourself, are people already writing $10,000 checks for this kind of problem? If you have to spend 6 months educating the market on why they even have a problem, you've already lost the 12-month timeline.
You need to sell water to people who are already thirsty. Don't try to convince people they need hydration in the first place.
Perfect. That's it exactly.
So we have the price point, we have the model. Now, month 3, we need to actually catch some of these fish. This month is all about crafting the irresistible offer.
And we need to make a distinction here that trips a lot of people up. The difference between a product and an offer. They are not the same thing.
How so?
The fishing analogy he uses is really, really useful here. The product is the hook. It's the metal mechanism that, does the job. But the offer is the bait.
Ah, the fish doesn't bite the hook. The fish bites the bait.
Correct. The bait is the promise of transformation, the juicy worm. The hook is just the delivery mechanism. And he tells a story about a founder running this really generic marketing agency. His pitch was literally, we do marketing.
Which is just terrible. It's so vague. It's boring. It sounds like work. We do marketing basically means you pay us a bunch of money to do tasks.
Exactly. It's a weak, uninspired offer. And so, unsurprisingly, he struggled. Martell coached him to restructure it into what he calls an irresistible offer. The new pitch became, we will get you 100 qualified leads in 90 days, guaranteed, or we work for free.
I get chills just hearing that. It's so aggressive.
It's terrifying for the business owner. Or we work for free. That is incredibly high stakes. But look at it from the buyer's perspective. All the risk is just gone.
Completely removed.
If I pay you, I either get the result I want or I get my money back. It turns the decision from a maybe into a, well, of course, it's a no-brainer.
He breaks this down into 4 components for an irresistible offer. Let's run through them.
Okay, first is the clear promise. You sell the result, not the tool. Don't sell the drill, sell the hole in the wall. Or even better, sell the feeling of finally hanging that picture of your family. You have to clearly articulate the after state.
Second is risk reversal. This is the guarantee part.
This is all about psychological safety. There's a great little anecdote about his son wanting to buy some online gaming course. The kid was on the fence, anxious about spending his allowance. Then he clicks over to the FAQ, sees 100% money-back guarantee, and instantly buys it.
Even a kid understands that.
Right. Even a child understands that safety net. In the B2B world, that risk reversal is often the difference between a deal stalling in committee for months and a deal getting signed on the spot.
Okay, third is stacking value. This means anticipating the next problem the customer will have.
Yes. So if I sell you a fitness program, what's your next problem? Well, I don't have time to cook healthy meals. Okay, so I throw in a bonus. My 50-minute meal prep guide for busy executives. I'm not just selling fitness, I'm removing the obstacles to your success. You stack on these bonuses until the perceived value feels 10 times higher than the actual price.
And finally, number 4, scarcity and urgency, helping the buyer cross the bridge.
We are procrastinators by nature. It's just human. Scarcity forces a decision. But, and this is so key, it has to be honest. Don't use those fake countdown timers on your website.
Right.
Instead, say, we can only onboard 5 new clients this month because our high-touch onboarding process requires my personal attention. If that's true, say it. It makes the offer more desirable, and it pushes the prospect to act now instead of thinking about it for 6 weeks.
Okay, so we've baited the hook, they've bitten, they said yes. Now we enter month 4. Under-promise, over-deliver. This is all about the psychology of trust.
There is a really dangerous gap in business. It's a fulfillment gap. It's the time between when I hand you my credit card and when I actually get the result I paid for. And that gap is where buyer's remorse lives. It's where people start wondering, oh man, did I just make a huge mistake?
He uses a restaurant analogy that I think everyone, literally everyone, has experienced.
It's the hostess scenario. If the hostess tells you the wait for a table is 30 minutes and you get seated in 10, how do you feel?
You're thrilled, you feel special, you feel like you won.
You won. But if she tells you the wait is 5 minutes and it actually takes 10,
You are furious, you're checking your watch, you're annoyed, you're looking at her.
you're fuming.
And the outcome was exactly the same. You sat down in 10 minutes in both scenarios. But the expectation management completely changed your emotional reality. So month 4 is about systematically managing those expectations. And there's a story about a software founder he calls Max, who was a classic people pleaser.
Oh, Max was killing his own business with kindness. Customers would ask for new features and he'd immediately say, sure, we'll have that for you next week. He just wanted them to be happy in that moment.
But then reality would hit.
Inevitably, he'd miss the deadline, the customers would get angry. His Net Promoter Score NPS, which measures customer loyalty, was in the tank. He was just constantly letting people down.
So what was the fix? Did he hire more developers?
No, simpler. He just stopped promising dates. He would acknowledge the request, say, that's a great idea, we'll add it to our list, and then just surprise them when it was actually done. By padding the timeline, under-promising, and then shipping earlier than expected, his NPS literally doubled in 6 months. He didn't write code any faster. He just managed the psychology better.
Another tactic here he mentions is the quick win. If I pay you $10,000, I need to feel good about that decision today, not 6 months from now when the project is done.
Yes, absolutely. Martell mentions a fitness coach named Alan. His full program is a year long. That's a huge commitment. But right at the start, he offers a 16-day cleanse that helps clients drop like 14 pounds really quickly.
So that's not the full transformation.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But does it validate their purchase decision? Absolutely. It floods the client with dopamine and builds immediate trust. In a B2B context, this might be a quick audit or a low-hanging fruit report that you deliver in the first 48 hours, something that shows them they made the right call.
Okay, moving on. We're making sales, we're delivering value, but now we hit a wall, a very real wall. You only have 24 hours in a day. If you are doing everything yourself, you will cap out. We are approaching the middle of the year, month 5. The topic is the buyback principle.
This is one of Martell's core philosophies. He says, your business will not scale past the constraints of your calendar. And that's just a brutal truth. You are the lid on the jar.
He talks about a client he had who was doing $100 million in revenue, a massive business. But the founder was still working 80 hours a week.
He was the bottleneck for everything. He was basically a highly paid toll booth operator in his own company. Nothing moved forward, no decision was made without him personally lifting the gate. And he was miserable, and the company was stagnating because he just couldn't make decisions fast enough for a business that size.
So how do you fix that? How do you even figure out what you should be doing versus what you shouldn't?
You have to do the math on your time. It's really simple. If you want a $10 million business, let's assume a standard 2,000-hour work year. So 10 million divided by 2,000 hours is $5,000.
$5,000 an hour. That is your required effective hourly rate.
Exactly. So if you are spending an hour checking your email or scheduling a meeting on Calendly or editing a video clip, you are doing a task that you could pay someone $20 or $30 an hour to do.
You're literally burning $4,970 every hour you do that.
You are effectively stealing from your future self. That's the mindset shift.
You're doing $10 tasks instead of $5,000 tasks.
The buyback principle is about using your revenue to buy your time back. You don't hire people just to grow. You hire people to free up your calendar so you can focus on the high leverage strategy. You move from being the craftsman building the whole car to being the architect of the assembly line.
Speaking of assembly lines, month 6 brings in the modern assembly line, AI, the robot workforce.
And I'm so glad the source material emphasizes this because in this day and age, you cannot ignore this lever. It's just too powerful. But Martell frames it around the theory of constraints.
Which is a classic manufacturing concept, right?
From the 80s, yeah. The theory of constraints says that every system, whether it's a factory or your business, has one bottleneck that limits its total output. Just one. And if you improve anything else in the system, it doesn't matter. The bottleneck is still the bottleneck.
So if your bottleneck is that you don't have enough leads coming in, hiring more customer support people won't help you grow.
It won't help at all. And if your bottleneck is that you can't fulfill orders fast enough, getting more leads is actually going to break your business. So you have to identify that one specific bottleneck and deploy AI specifically, surgically, right there.
What are some of the best use cases he mentions for AI?
Well, customer support is the obvious one. Chatbots and AI-powered knowledge bases that can provide instant answers 24/7. But he also mentions internal documentation, which I thought was really smart. He talks about tools like Trainual.
Oh, I've heard of this. It's for SOP, standard operating procedures.
Right. And the old way was you, the founder, had to sit down and write this boring 20-page manual on how to process an invoice. Nobody wants to do that. The new way, you record a 5-minute video of yourself doing it once, just screen record it. You feed that video into the AI.
And the AI does the rest.
The AI washes the video, it captures your clicks, it writes out the step-by-step manual, and it even creates a little quiz at the end to make sure your new hire understood it. Boom. The task is documented forever.
That is insane leverage. You record it once, and now anyone on Earth can do it.
He also talks about quality auditing. Imagine an AI that's listening to all of your sales calls. It can come back and tell you, hey, your rep Steve is forgetting to ask for the close in 40% of his calls. You don't have to listen to 100 hours of audio to find that needle in the haystack. The AI acts as a supervisor that never sleeps.
But eventually, you need actual humans. Robots can't do everything. That brings us to month 7, hiring. But not just hiring anyone. The concept is light team, heavy talent.
I love the distinction he makes here between empire building and having Navy SEALs.
Empire building is just a vanity metric, right? It's, look at me, I have 50 employees.
It's pure ego. I have a big office, lots of bodies walking around. Martell argues that headcount is a dangerous vanity metric. The only metric that matters is revenue per employee. And he tells this wild story of a founder who had 40 employees and was totally stuck. He did a massive layoff, fired 30 people, 75% of his staff.
That sounds like a complete disaster waiting to happen.
You would think so. But he kept the 10 A players, the absolute elite performers. And what happened? The business actually grew faster past the $10 million mark with a quarter of the staff.
How is that even possible?
Because B players create drag. They need constant management. They make mistakes you have to fix. They come to you and ask, what should I do next? A players have playbooks. They come in and they tell you what needs to be done. They solve problems you didn't even know you had.
But A players are expensive. That's the pushback you always hear.
They are. But his point is that one A player who costs you $150,000 a year is actually cheaper than 3 B players who cost $60,000 each. Because the A player actually gets the result without you having to spend 20 hours a week babysitting them.
So the hiring advice is, hire for outputs, not for tasks. Use scorecards to define what success looks like before they even start, and then pay above market to get the absolute killers.
Exactly. Light team, heavy talent.
Okay, so we have the offer, we have the systems, we have the AI, and now we have this small elite team. Now, month 8, we need to pour gas on the fire. This is about building a growth engine.
And notice the word engine, not growth luck or growth hustle. An engine is a mechanical, predictable system. You push a button, it starts. Every time.
Revenue without predictability is gambling. That's the quote from the source.
And it's so true. If you wake up on the first of the month and you have no idea where your sales are going to come from, you don't have a business. You have a high-stress hobby.
He outlines 3 main channels, outbound, inbound, and partnerships. But he seems to favor partnerships heavily, especially for this rapid 12-month timeline. Why is that?
Partnerships are the ultimate leverage play. I mean, think about it. Outbound cold calling people is a brutal grind. Inbound creating content and waiting for it to rank on Google can take a year or more. But partnerships, that's about borrowing someone else's trust and distribution instantly.
So how does that work practically?
You find someone who already has the audience you want to reach. Maybe it's a software company that sells a tool your clients use, or a big influencer in your niche, or even a non-competing agency. You go to them and you set up a deal. Hey, send my offer out to your email list, and I'll give you 30% of any revenue that comes from it.
So it's completely risk-free marketing for you.
It's pure efficiency. You don't pay for ads that might not work. You only pay after the sale is already made. His goal in this blueprint is to lock in a dozen good partners who are consistently promoting you to their lists. If you do that, you have an instant sales force that costs you $0 in base salary.
Okay, so the leads are coming in from these partners now, month 9. The conversion machine. This is about turning all that interest into actual income.
And this is where sales stops being an art and starts being a science. Martell tells a story about a guy who was selling his program on Instagram. He was getting plenty of leads, but he was only closing about 10% of them, which is, it's okay.
But it's super wasteful. It means 90% of his opportunities are just dying on the vine.
Exactly. And the reason was he was winging it. He was just having chats. He was trusting his personality to close deals. Martell coached him to re-engineer his entire sales script to handle objections before they even came up.
Preloading the objection, they call it.
Right. So instead of waiting for the client to say at the end, oh, this is too expensive, he'd say early in the call, now I want to be upfront. This program is a premium investment, and that's because we do X, Y, and Z to guarantee your results. He frames the price as a feature, not a bug, before the client even has a chance to worry about it.
And the result of that one change.
3 months later, he's closing 30% of his leads. He tripled his revenue without getting a single extra lead. That is the power of building a conversion machine. You need a script. You need to train and rehearse like a sports team watching game tape, practicing objection handling. You cannot let your sales reps freestyle with your expensive leads.
Now we are in the home stretch, month 10. This one is called Stacking Recurring Revenue, and it's described as the holy grail of business.
This is the difference between hustling and freedom. If you're a real estate agent or you build one-off websites, every January 1st, your income resets to zero. You have to start the hunt all over again. It's a terrifying way to live.
But wait, if I sold a $10,000 product back in month 1, how is that recurring? That sounds like a one-time sale to me.
That's a great catch. This is where you have to be smart and layer in the back-end offer. You sold the initial transformation for 10 grand, but after that's done, you sell the maintenance plan, or the VIP community, or the monthly retainer for priority access.
Okay, so the initial sale is the big chunk of cash, but the small recurring revenue is what keeps the lights on and provides stability.
Exactly. The goal, he says, is that eventually your monthly recurring revenue covers all of your fixed operating expenses. That means your payroll and your rent is paid for by the first of the month, automatically. Every new $10,000 sale you make after that is just pure profit. That is financial peace. That is when you stop sweating.
We're almost there. Month 11. This one's about leadership. It's called Become the CEO.
And this is a huge identity shift. You have to stop being the operator, the person doing the work, and start being the architect, the person designing the system.
The music producer analogy appears here, which I love.
It's a great visual. In the beginning, you're the singer in the band. You're on stage, sweating, performing every night. But the CEO is the producer. Rick Rubin doesn't play the instruments on the album. He sets the vision. He creates the environment. He gets the absolute best out of the talent in the room. He makes sure the album as a whole works, but he isn't holding the guitar pick.
And Martell says the CEO should focus on 3 things and 3 things only: vision, money, and people.
That's it. Your job is to look 18 months into the future. If you are solving today's problems, you aren't the CEO. You're the company's most expensive firefighter. You need to install leaders under you who own outcomes. You shouldn't be approving vacation requests. You should be securing the capital for the company's next expansion.
And finally, month 12, the finish line, package to sell.
Even if you don't want to sell, this is key.
Right. The advice is build it to sell, even if you plan to keep it. Why is that so important?
Because a business that is ready to sell is a business that is an absolute joy to own. It means the financials are clean, no 2 sets of books, no personal expenses mixed in. It means there is no founder dependency. The business can run perfectly fine without you for a month. It means all your systems are documented.
There's a story of a reluctant seller in the source material. This client didn't want to sell, but he went through this process just to clean up his infrastructure, just to make his own life easier. He just wanted less stress. He wanted to be able to take a vacation. But because his books were pristine and his systems were so tight, a buyer came along, saw this beautiful self-running machine, and offered him 9 figures for it.
And he took it.
He took it. He's traveling the world with his family now. But even if he hadn't sold, he would have had a business that ran itself. That is the ultimate win either way.
So we've walked through the entire 12 months, from the math all the way to the exit. Now, let's pause and bring in that hustle happy hour critique lens we talked about at the beginning. We've been very positive so far. But let's be real. Is this actually realistic?
Okay, let's stress test it. Let's look at the pros first. The core logic is completely sound. The money math is undeniable. If you want to hit big numbers fast, you need big transaction sizes, period. The buyback principle is essential advice for anyone, whether you want 10 million or you just want to go home at 5 p.m.
There's a but coming. There's a big but. The timeline assumes zero friction. It assumes you magically find product market fit instantly in month 2. In the real world, you might spend 6 months, maybe a year, just figuring out what the offer should even be. You might launch 3 things that totally flop before you find the one that finally sticks.
And it assumes you have the capital to hire these A players in month 7.
Correct. Navy SEALs are not cheap. If you haven't made a ton of sales in those first 6 months, you can't afford the talent you need to scale. This blueprint assumes that the cash conversion cycle is instant, that you sell a deal and get the cash immediately to reinvest. That's not always how it works.
So how would you classify this? Is it hustle hype?
I wouldn't call it hype. I would call it situational advice. This blueprint works if you already have the raw materials, a high-value skill, a ton of grit, and maybe a bit of starting capital doesn't hurt. It is a brilliant blueprint for scaling aggressively. But for a true beginner, starting from absolute zero with no skills, no network, and no money, the curve is much, much steeper.
It's like a recipe for a perfect fancy souffle. If you're a trained chef, it's a great recipe. If you've never cracked an egg before in your life, it's probably going to collapse.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
But, and this is really important, even if you don't hit 10 million, the principles hold up. Even if you do this over 5 years instead of 12 months, these are still the right levers to pull. You still win.
Oh, there's a final thought from the source that really stuck with me. He says, it's not about making the right decision. It's about making the decision right.
That's so powerful.
Right.
Because most people freeze. They get stuck because they are terrified of picking the wrong business model or the wrong offer. They want absolute certainty before they start.
Analysis paralysis.
Totally.
Yeah.
But clarity comes from action, not from thinking. You just have to pick a path, and then you execute so furiously and with so much focus that you make it the right path. You almost brute force the success through sheer execution. Let's see what the internet thinks. I found a few gems in the comments. The supportive. The buyback principle changed my life. I hired a virtual assistant for my inbox, and my revenue tripled because I could finally sell.
That's the dream. It works if you actually have a selling skill to pivot to.
The skeptical. Step 1, be Dan Martell. Step 2, have 20 years of connections. Step 3, make $10 million. This isn't for people starting at zero.
Hard to argue. The partnerships he talks about in month 8 are way easier to get when you're already a multimillionaire.
The unhinged. I tried hunting a deer for $10,000 like he said. Now I have a restraining order from the local zoo and $0.
Bart, please tell me he knows the deer is a metaphor for mid-market clients. So here is our challenge to you, the listener. You might not be aiming for $10 million this year, and that's completely fine, but look at your calendar for today. Just today.
Are you spending your time on $10 tasks? Or are you spending it on what could be $10,000 tasks?
Are you hunting rabbits or are you hunting deer?
That is the one lever you can pull immediately. You don't need a year. You don't need permission. You can change that this afternoon.
Delegate one $10 task. Go find one $10,000 opportunity. And we'll see you in the next deep dive. And that's it for today's session at Hustle Happy Hour. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's ready to level up and build something big.
If you want more, check out our other videos where we deconstruct more guru gems and traps. And hey, if there's a video you want us to react to next, drop it in the comments below or send us a link. We're always looking for the next hustle to deconstruct.
Until next time, stay spicy, but keep the hustle real and keep the drinks cold. Cheers.
Hustle happy hour.